The champs remain atop Pete Prisco's power rankings heading into Week 2. Tampa Bay beat Dallas, an exciting game to open up the year. Tom Brady looked like he was in midseason form, throwing for 4 touchdowns, 379 yards. It was the 49th game-winning drive for the 3-time NFL MVP, has led fourth quarter and overtime games in the regular season. That's third all-time behind Peyton Manning and Drew Brees. Taking a look at those power rankings top 10. The Bills opened up number 2, but have fallen all the way down to 9 with that home loss to the Steelers. Speaking of Pittsburgh, the win in Western New York has them at number 7 after start of the year at 21. Steelers and Saints among the big risers. Green Bay with Buffalo, stock falling after one game. And with a look at Pete Prisco's power rankings, let's welcome in the man himself. So, Pete, the Bucs stay at number 1. What did you like? What didn't you like about the champs?
Well, obviously their offense was going to be dynamic all season long, and I actually think it's going to be significantly better than it was a year ago, in large part because Tom Brady has been in the system now. Remember, last year was COVID. They had a hard time implementing the offense. It took him a while to get comfortable in it, and he's comfortable in it now. So they're going to score a ton of points this season. I think Antonio Brown, who surprisingly was the best receiver on the field for them the other night, will have a big season as well. So offense, don't worry about them. Defense, I thought they'd take major steps forward this season because they understand Todd Bowles' defense a lot better. They didn't look like it against the Cowboys. That was a bad-looking unit against Dallas. Dallas hit a lot of shots down the field. They got to tighten up on the back end and be better in coverage, or they're going to have a lot of games that fantasy people love in the 40s.
And they do have a divisional game against the Falcons this week. Let's target a couple teams here that have moved up, Pete. The Niners, I think you started them at 6, higher than most there to start the year. You have them at 3 now. And then the Steelers, of course, going all the way up to 7. How'd you get there at 3 and 7 for both San Francisco and Pittsburgh?
Well, for the 49ers, that was a dominant performance against the Lions, and the Lions aren't a good football team, and then they kind of went to sleep at the end. We see that happen sometimes in the NFL, but the best thing to come out of that was Jimmy Garoppolo. He had an impressive showing throwing the football, and that's the most important thing. That's the biggest question for the 49ers. Can they throw the football? Now, the secondary has some issues. Jason Verrett's now out for the year, so they have to tighten it up a little bit on the corner as well. But that was a dominant offensive performance, and I think with Kyle Shanahan getting his bodies back. Remember, last year that team was depleted. So many injuries. He's one of the best coaches in the league. That team will be right there at the top of the division week in and week out and atop the power rankings as well. As for the Steelers, that's a big-time win. You go on the road against the Buffalo Bills, who I picked to win the Super Bowl, and I still think they have a legitimate chance to do that. But for Pittsburgh, a lot of people question them this season. Could they do enough offensively? And granted, it was ugly for 3 quarters on the offensive side of the ball. But Ben Roethlisberger came alive in the fourth quarter. It was crunch time. He made the plays. He's made a big special teams play, and that defense was phenomenal. So, you know what's interesting about that defensive performance? They're known for their blitzing. They did not blitz Josh Allen. They made him play slow and patient, and it worked. So Steelers up in my rankings, and they're a team now that people are going to step back and say, okay, it was the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens in that division. Keep an eye on the Steelers.
All right, so on the flip side, how far did you consider moving the Bills down? You settled at 9, Pete.
Yeah, and I didn't want to move them that far down because I still think that's a really good football team that got caught on Sunday. I don't think they were prepared for the way the Steelers played defense. And we've seen this before with Josh Allen. Remember, the Tennessee Titans played a lot of off coverage against them last year and made them be patient, and they lost the football game. And the Steelers took a kind of that blueprint and used it and kind of used it against him, made him be patient. It didn't work for the Buffalo Bills. So I think they caught him off guard a little bit. Now you get back to work, you get back into your groove. The Bills are still a good football team. They're going to be right there at the end.
Let's get back to a riser, team that is making a move here in the Week 2. That's the Saints from 19 to 6. Talk about impressive there. What stood out to you about what they did to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay?
The defense. And you look at that Packers offense, you say, okay, they're going to get their points. Can Jameis Winston keep up? But this was about the Saints' defense. And there were major questions about that defensive unit, particularly in the secondary. Also some age creeping in on the front. And they just dominated the Packers offense. They were glued to those guys in the secondary. Played a ton of man. Even though they were down corners at times, they played a ton of man. Kudos to those guys who stepped in. Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator, did a great job. And when I was there in training camp, Sean Payton told me he had a really good feeling about this team. And it wasn't just coach speak. He was talking about how they worked, how they practiced, how he felt that they could be much better than what many people thought they would be. And he might be right, because that was a dominant performance.
They moved up. Green Bay fell to 10 for you. So you do 14 slots for Pittsburgh, Pete. You do 13 slots for the Saints, but you only do 4 for the Eagles. Phillies wins this one against Atlanta, but they only move 4 spots to 22. Why is that?
Well, it is Atlanta. I mean, let's hold off on that a little bit, because the Falcons aren't a very good team, I don't think, and they were just awful on Sunday. Their offensive line was battered and bruised, and credit goes to the Eagles. Their front got after Matt Ryan, hit him a bunch, sacked him a bunch, and really made it an unsteady-looking performance for that offense. And on the other side, Jalen Hurts did some really good things. And I think if you're an Eagles fan, you have to be optimistic about where they are. You look at that division. Dallas has major defensive issues. We saw that against Tampa Bay. Washington now has quarterback issues to go with their good defense. And you look at the Giants, they're almost a disaster right now. They don't look very good. So the Eagles might be the surprise team that can sneak up and win that division. If Jalen Hurts plays like that, they will win the division.
They will go up if they can somehow beat the San Francisco 49ers and that defense. Pete Prisco, thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it. Catch his entire power rankings on CBSSports.com. By the way, if you notice there, Urban Meyer, Trevor Lawrence, and the Jags at the very bottom. All things covered. Marcus Spears on LSU Memories, Nick Saban's greatness, and Bill Parcells' toughness. That is on the latest podcast with Patrick Peterson and Brian McFadden. Download and follow All Things Covered now.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.